I'm convinced that somewhere in the archives of a photography studio in Ohio, there's a picture of me I never want to see. The sun was beautifully bright that August afternoon in Sandusky as we stood in front of this gorgeous garden splashed with flowers. The photographer said, "Go ahead and dip her." My new husband slid his hand behind my back, and as he started to dip me, he hissed at me through his smile, which was really just gritted teeth. "When is this gonna effing be over?" At that moment, the sun was my enemy. It had to be exposing the white of my face as the blood drained out of it. Could it be? Could my husband of only 2 hours want that desperately not to be in this moment? I felt like someone had poked a hole through my chest, stuck a straw in the opening, and started sucking the air out of my lungs. No breath came out for a few seconds, just long enough for the shock to register on my face as the camera flashed. And somewhere, in a closet of that photography studio, they probably have it on a negative, they were too kind to ever develop. Thank you, photographer. But the words were seared into my memory, no picture needed. It was at that split second that I thought for the first, but not the last time that day, "Dear God, what have I done?" Chapter 1. Remember Your Roots. Dear God, what have I done? Of all the things I dreamed of feeling on the day I got married, that was not one of them. I know, I should have been more honest with myself. By that point in my life, I'd sat through my share of weddings. If I'd lined them up to see how many unions had survived, I'd say I was looking at a 50-50 split. Half the marriages were still going strong, half had already crumbled. And I was a big talker back in the day, too, often proclaiming, "I don't care if I'm standing at the end of the aisle in my dress, with everyone seated and ready to go. If it doesn't feel right, I'm not walking down that aisle." But that's exactly what I did. Standing at the back of the church just before those doors opened, with my father by my side, I said, "Dad, you'll always be the number one man in my life." I looked at him and he was fighting back tears. Thinking back on that day now, I wonder if it was simply because he was facing the moment a father dreads most, giving his daughter away, or if there was more to it, if he too was scared, if he knew that this was not how things should be. It should have been a warning sign to me that when I told him he'd always be the number one man in my life, I truly meant it. You'd think that I was getting ready to say I do. I should have been pledging that spot to my new husband. Or that I wouldn't feel the need to number people at all. That I could love both of them without categorization. But truth be told, the man I was walking toward was not someone who made me feel safe or cherished or authentically loved. I think I just convinced myself of that for as long as I could because it was what I wanted to believe, whether it was real or not. And in that moment, despite all my proclamations of "I'll never make that mistake," there I was, walking right into it. In terms of logistics, everything was perfect. My most treasured friends were there standing up for me. The church was filled with all the people who were important in my life. And my dear family friend and pastor, Roger Miller, had come back to town to perform the ceremony. I suppose those distractions were enough for me to gloss over the truth that was standing right in front of me. Roger's message that day was haunting, though I didn't realize it for a few more years. He kept repeating, "Remember your roots. Remember the family you came from that loves you. Remember what makes you who you are. Remember your roots." Maybe he knew too. Maybe he sensed this was not where God meant for me to be. Maybe the message was Pastor Roger's way of preparing me for the journey ahead and giving me some direction to guide me through it. But I'm sure even he had no idea how torturous the journey was going to be. Of course, I'd heard about women who lose themselves completely, who give everything they have to a man, allowing his life to take over. It never entered my mind that I could be one of them. But in one walk down the aisle, I did just that. And I had no one to blame but myself. I chose it, even though I didn't realize I was doing it. Isn't that how it always seems to work? I mean, one day you wake up, look around, and wonder, where am I? Whose life am I living, and how did I get here? Little pieces of the real you keep flitting away in someone else's wind until the you you've always known has disappeared. It happens so gradually, you don't even notice it at first. I know I didn't. A few weeks after the wedding, Justin and I were watching the video of our big day, and I found myself overwhelmed with shame and sadness. I tried to hide it, but I guess my heart was on my sleeve. Look, I can be a darn good actress when I want to be, but the fact is, if I care deeply or if I'm hurt, it shows.